James Ellis here from Sweet Science of Fighting. Today, taking you through KSI's boxing training. Now, he has a boxing documentary on YouTube. It looks like it covers around a week of his training or so, or at least a few days within a week. So we'll dive into that, see how his training looks, good, bad, what can be done better, what you can apply to your training, and we'll see if it's any good. So we have Monday, morning cardio, afternoon pads. So it looks like we have a little bit of an air bike warm up, some kind of coaching while he's on the air bike before the cardio session, into maybe a little bit of shadow boxing warm up for his cardio stuff. Sweet. It's a good little way to warm up. I mentioned that in one of my vlogs, actually, around 25 seconds he's got to hold his pace. So I was mentioned in one of my vlogs about using the warm up as a way to extend your training and get the things in that you don't usually, or you can't fit within your main training regime. And it's good to getting extra technical training done before the cardio session, which is nice. So it's like a 25-second all-out sprints on the Versa Climber. Super maximal, so maximal effort sprint, 25 seconds. You're looking at essentially, you can call it repeat sprint training if you wanted to classify it in the high intensity interval training spectrum. And because it's super maximal, that's why it fits into that sprint. So it looks like he's going again. I don't know how long he's resting. It looks, he's pretty short. It almost looks like a 1-to-1 work to rest, and he's pushing hard. Now, there's a time and place for this kind of training. I don't think it's something you should do all the damn time, but there is some purpose. One of them is to be able to just push. And a lot of it is just down to the fact that it's a work capacity thing. You're pushing, ability to tolerate that stress, and to kind of know where your limits are in terms of pacing and effort. Now, doing this all the time, not the best idea when we're talking about performance. When we're talking about performance, we want to repeat similar outputs throughout a set, for example, with these intervals. So if you're doing 25-second intervals, you'd want to repeat outputs, I don't know, between 75 and 95% effort. And you'd want to keep, say, for example, with these outputs, you could do by power outputs, usually easiest with these machines, they give like average watts. And you want to hit similar average watts set to set to set. And that means you're typically going to rest longer. And that's how you can increase work capacity to transfer to whatever your combat sport is. By going balls out, this looks like it's longer than 25 seconds, is it? Is it still 25? Maybe. But by going balls out, every set you do, you end up reducing the outputs as you come through. So performance decreases as you go down. Now, as I mentioned, there is a time and place for that. However, it adds a lot of residual fatigue. So training in that day, or technical training in that day, or the following day can be affected negatively. It also means you can't do as much volume. And depending on your goals within training, volume is typically important within endurance training to improve your conditioning, especially when we're talking aerobically. Now, the opposite, if you're doing, say, 75 to 90% efforts and you're repeating similar power outputs each way, you're having slightly longer rests, maybe 1-to-2 to 1-to-4 work to rest ratios, you're able to maintain your performance, but it's not so fatiguing that you can do technical training later that day or the following day and not have any negative impacts. So spend most of your time with the longer rests or doing efforts that aren't completely maximal ball busting, and every now and then you can do something like this almost as a, I guess, test, quote unquote. There's also some good adaptation you can get out of doing some stuff like this. For example, if you're doing hard, like 60-second intervals, you're looking at developing the heart to be able to contract into these high blood volume situations and being able to pump more blood with a harder heartbeat. And then obviously with your lower intensity stuff, you're getting the ability to fill the heart with more blood. Now it looks like he's going into some straight off there in a fatigue state. So this could be, if we're talking like a constraints led approach to training, which we've talked about a few times on the Sweet Science of Fighting podcast. John Mackey is one of them, Scott Swevright, and I'll just pause it there for a second, and Sean Mishka, which will be out this coming Monday. You should definitely listen to that. But one of the ways you can change the constraint to the organism or the person is by adding fatigue and then going into whatever the drill is. Only problem is it's so overused. It's pretty much the only one ever used, and it's not used for that purpose. People just kind of think, oh, you have to be able to execute under fatigue, but a lot of the time it just ends up being sloppy. So it's not something I believe that you should use very often, but there is a purpose to doing some of that. Now it looks like he's going straight into some ab work and some neck work. I think that's a good place to put it as well. I mean, you could do it before the cardio stuff, but you can even do it after as well. It's such small muscle group stuff, accessory work, that you can kind of put it wherever and not run into any problems. So straight after a hard conditioning session, no problems at all doing the abs and neck work. So he's back on, this must be his pad session now in the afternoon. So going into his pad session, I'm not going to break that down. So Tuesday morning sparring and then afternoon filming. So his Monday was cardio pad, so double cardio, one technical session, and then sparring Tuesday. And his Monday was very hard conditioning. So I think a better way to organize that would not have the very, very hard conditioning on the Monday and have it more, I guess, performance based, as I mentioned, with a longer work to rest, just so you're not depleting yourself so much going into sparring Tuesday. Now, obviously, if you're training full time and things like that, probably doing that kind of training in the morning on a Monday isn't going to negatively affect you on Tuesday. But for us mere mortals who have other things going on in our lives, probably better to not have maximal training on a Monday if you have sparring Tuesday morning. So jumping rope to warm up. I think he's finished sparring already. They don't want to give away the secrets, of course. And then straight into the ice bath. So I don't know, if this was a build up to a specific fight or how close it was to a fight. But people love ice baths recovery. I've used them with athletes as well, but I used them strategically within a season or within a certain time period. And if, for example, if this was far from a fight and it was more just preparatory training with no fight in sight, I don't believe getting an ice bath is a good idea. If you are in a fight camp, quote unquote, and maybe you're 6 weeks out and you're doing a lot of technical training, yes, ice bath often in that scenario, because the adaptations aren't as important as your performance in technical training. But when you're further away or you don't have a fight coming up, stay away from external recovery modalities like that. You don't want to artificially remove the inflammation response you're getting from training. That response is helping you recover. It's helping you adapt to the stimulus that you're providing. And by jumping in things like ice baths and doing cryotherapy, etc., you're just blunting that adaptation. It just doesn't make any sense to do. And that includes whether you're going in it every day in the morning like everybody, person's doing now. You don't need to do that for your recovery. For your recovery, the basics are always there: sleep, eat, rest, and less stress. You're going to be, if you're doing a lot of training, you're going to be sore, tired, etc. That's just part of it. But don't start blunting the adaptations because you're jumping in an ice bath all the time, and instead save it for when it's really necessary. 2 weeks out from whatever it is, a competition or a tournament fight, where you need to see those that recovery, I guess, quicken between sessions. A really good study is by Francisco Tavares. He did that with a professional rugby. He had one group ice bath at the end of every training day, so 4 times a week. The other group didn't, and it seemed that the ice bath group attenuated the decline, so they didn't decline as much in terms of counter movement jump or vertical jump height compared to the group that didn't ice bath. So that essentially they were able to recover slightly better than the group that didn't ice bath in that week. Now, that's perfect within a fight camp scenario because you're needing to perform every single day, but within a preparation style scenario, I don't think it's worth doing when the adaptations are what you are trying to push during that period. Looks like a little Tuesday photo shoot. We can skip this part. Let's see what we got next. Okay, we're into the weight training. So I don't know if they give what day the weight training is. Let's see. Wednesday, here we go. Rewind. Weight training Wednesday morning. So he's sparred Tuesday, weight training Wednesday, and then more for, okay. Let's see what he's got for weight training. So we've got the Alico bars out with some kids plates on it. 2.5 kilo kids plates. So we're starting with overhead squats. Alright, let's see what these, oh, it's going to take the rest as well. Okay. Oh, okay, this is some ugly ass overhead squats. So, okay. He's got his weightlifting shoes on, that's a good thing. So with overhead squats, it's something I very rarely prescribe. I see in this instance it's the first exercise, so I'm assuming it's almost like a warm-up / primer for what's to come. Now, if you're doing overhead squats, he should be doing it with the damn stick right now and sitting as low as possible. Doing quarter squat, overhead squats serves zero purpose. People will talk about overhead stability and this and that. It's all fucking bullshit. The overhead squat, if you're going to do it, is to help develop mobility, ankle, knees, hips, thoracic, shoulders, essentially. It's often used as a test to see where an athlete lacks in mobility. So it's not typically an exercise that I'll use often to develop strength, because when you can't load it heavy enough, and two, most people can't even get into the position, so it kind of doesn't really serve much of a purpose. As a warm-up, it works well, but you would do it without weight. Okay, Smith machine, quarter front squats. So when we're talking range of motion with exercises, you'll get the starting strength crowd come in and be like, you have to squat to depth, blah, 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 because all they know is ripple tits is bullshit starting strength. Starting strength is the fucking most dog shit program. And do not do starting strength if you're a fighter. So quarter squats have their place. Quarter squats, especially if you are coming through a fight camp, reducing the range of motion has one, better transfer to jump and sprint performance, meaning you probably have better transfer to punching, takedown performance. Two, you have less fatigue because you've shortened the range of motion, the muscles doing less work. Three, you can load it pretty damn heavy. So you're getting a lot of, I guess, maximal strength loading on top of that. So there is value in doing quarter squats. Doing quarter front squats, I'm not so sure about that. I'd rather do quarter back squats. You can actually load it heavy enough. Quarter front squats is kind of very awkward. It's more like a jerk dip. In the Smith machine, I don't see any problem doing this in the Smith machine if the athlete finds it useful, more comfortable, etc. Remember, all these exercises and machines are all training tools. You can literally train a professional boxer with just a damn leg press if you wanted for lower body strength and power. The tool is there to help create or elicit the adaptation or stimulus that you want. And this one, he's just chosen the Smith machine, which is cool. I would just think it's better loaded on the back, just in terms of the movement itself when doing these quarter squats. Now, if he doesn't have a fight coming up right now, then I wouldn't be doing something like quarter squats. You're looking for complete leg development. I'll be looking to get deep. It looks like he's got, well, it looks like he just can't even squat, to be honest. He hasn't actually learned or been taught how to squat. So that will be the thing that I'll be working on initially, because it helps open up the hips as well and develop a lot of different things there. All right, so now we're into a board bench press while his spotter's doing bicep curls there. I like this again, you're shortening the range of motion, so it's a little more friendly on the shoulders. Again, if you are closer to a fight, great variation to use. He's got I think a foam roller up his shirt for this one. You can obviously use boards. If you don't have any of this equipment or a spotter, floor press is another option you can do to shorten the range of motion. That's really nice. So I really like this exercise. Just don't like the way he's doing it. So yeah, this would be too heavy if you're doing this, because the spotter's doing half the work. So, bear that in mind. So now we're doing supinated, so palms up, bent over rows in the Smith machine. I like that. Have you never done rows in a Smith machine? It actually feels really damn nice. Remember, this Smith machine is free form as well, so it moves back and forth, so it acts more like a barbell than it does a pure linear Smith machine. But underhand, overhand grips when you're doing your barbell rows, you can mix it up. It doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things. Now we're doing some neutral grip pull-ups. Obviously his head has to go to either side. Nothing wrong with what's going on here. It could be a little more range of motion on that one, but that's cool. And then finishing with some slow sit-ups and crunches for the abs. And it looks like he's just doing some wrist traction stuff. So in terms of, oh, maybe his wrist is, seems like his wrist is actually pretty fucked. If he has to tape his wrist to go do overhead squats and then he needs this done after his session, his wrist is probably pretty banged up. So, you know, it'd probably be worth him doing some kind of grip wrist forearm work as part of his accessory stuff, potentially after his cardio on that Monday or as part of this session. Now, I will say in terms of a social media fighter or even just even professional fighter's training program, it's not half bad. I've seen much worse. The best thing is this was kept pretty simple. It's literally overhead squat, quarter front squat, board bench press, barbell row, and then some pull-ups and abs. That's nice. It's not a whole smorgasbord of every single exercise you can think of done in a random order. At least it was done in an order that made sense and was logical. Typically, you would like to see some kind of, I was going to say, speed power style exercises at the beginning of this, or at least paired with the strength exercises. Obviously, it depends on the phase he's in, what he's focusing on, but typically I like to keep a thread of that always within the training program, regardless of what the goal is. If the goal is to gain size, you're still doing jumps, throws, etc. at the beginning of the session. If your goal is just to get brutally strong because you don't have that background, you're still doing jumps, throws, and you're doing bodybuilding work at the end, as an example. So you're always getting a thread of everything, but you're just manipulating how much of each thing you're doing depending on your goal. So that would be nice to see in there. And then with his wrist is that bad as well, I mean, there could be some things that he could do depending if he's got his physio or whatever. He could do between sets to fill that rest time as well to get more work in. So there's always places you can fit some of these things in as well. All right, so there's more photo shoots, I think. Wait, are we on another day now?
This is a
Thursday, here we go. Punching back, running track with speed. Oh God, okay. So Thursday, we're doing some bag work. I haven't actually, it's Thursday. Has he done any technical boxing? He's done pads, but I don't know if I would call that real technical training. And now he's on the bag. Tuesday was sparring. Okay, so some shadow boxing. This looks like it's more of a, oh, this is conditioning. So he's done one session of technical boxing on a Monday, pads if you want to call that technical. I don't know what else he did in that session, and then the sparring on Tuesday. It's now Thursday. I wouldn't call this a technical session. Oh yeah, one of these. I've seen these around, I guess, for shoulder and arm endurance. Yeah, sure. I don't see anything wrong with doing something like that. What else have we got? So that was it. A heavy bag conditioning session on Thursday morning. Okay. And then we're off to the track. Oh yeah, the fast feet stuff. If you remember, if you watched the Devin Haney breakdown I did, where they love doing the old fast feet on the sand, it's fast feet again. Fast feet means jack shit. There's no such thing as having fast feet, and being fast in the scenario does not make you fast in the ring. It does not make you fast in any other scenario. Being fast in the ring, in jiu-jitsu and wrestling and MMA, is being able to recognize the situation, what's happening in front of you, the options that your opponent is presenting to you, and then you be able to solve that problem by implementing the tools that you have through anticipation and being able to outwit your opponent and impose your own rhythm on your opponent. That is how you look fast. It's not about doing some random fast feet drills. All right, let's see what these guys are doing on the track today. One round, rest a minute. Okay. It's interesting that they're on. Okay, so they're doing some, looks like almost like 400 meter repeats. Or are they going around multiple times, it looks like. Yeah, looks like they're doing 400 meter repeats. If this is a full-size track, 400 meter repeats, that's pretty damn brutal. Not gonna lie. But we can call these slight, like short intervals. Short interval training, so On Monday morning, he was doing kind of like repeat sprints, maximal effort. However, the pace he's keeping on this one, so 4 more 400 repeats. So this will be close to near maximal. I don't know if he's keeping the times relatively the same. If he is, that'll be good, because then you kind of got the contrast between the Monday conditioning session. Yeah, so it's relatively so. So it's keeping the contrast between the Monday hard conditioning session, the shorter, and this one is still hard, but it's still slightly lower intensity.
This is a Chucky beat.
There's nothing wrong with this session, to be honest. Do you need to run? No, you don't have to run. Just people just tend to choose speed. Yeah, it is 400 meter. But I don't see how this, they called this a running workout with speed, but there's no speed in this, for one example. 400 meters isn't speed. It's, I guess you could class it as speed endurance, but you're not getting any faster running 400 meters. Now I think they're actually going to run, because they're doing a bunch more 400s. Let's see what else we got. Oh wait, here we go. And then we finish with some sloppy broad jump, frog jumps, I guess that's what we call them. As a position, I guess if you're looking to to waste your legs more, you could do that after the 400. I don't know why you would do that, unless there's like some kind of specific work capacity you're working towards with the legs. My guess is it's probably just fucking random. And then are they just clowning, or is this actually part of the session? Oh my gosh, this is part of the session. Okay, I don't even know why that. No, it's just some kind of extra, and it's just extra. It's just work for doing work. There's no need to do any of this. You've just run your 400. Oh my gosh, you're doing like, yeah, I don't know. More abs, of course. Some shitty push-ups. Okay, so after all that, and now what else they got going? Oh my gosh, now they're running sprints. I can't believe people do this, to be honest. Like, you don't run as part of your sport. You have shitty running mechanics because you don't run as part of your sport. And then you run the most intense version of sprints, 100-meter sprints, as a race with someone who doesn't sprint. After you've already run 400 repeats and done a whole bunch of other stuff under fatigue. It's like setting up the recipe for hamstring injury. Every team sport, everyone who's worked in team sports where hamstring injuries are the most prevalent injuries within those sports, you would literally be cringing thinking about doing something like that. So if you're running 100-meter sprints, I mean, one, don't, but two, if you are going to do them, do not do them after doing something like this. You're just setting yourself up for some hamstring problems. Let's see what else we got going on for the rest of his training week. Sparring again on Friday, and so he's done, if you count the pads as technical session, he's done 1 technical boxing session and 2 sparring sessions. To me, that sounds ass backwards, but looks like he's just doing his typical warm-up. That's cool. More fast feet, of course. You need those fast feet. Oh yeah, sprawls and abs, and just the warm-up for sparring, is it? Interesting. Okay. Jumps, band stuff, cool. All right, into sparring. Jumping rope at the end, and the ice bath again after sparring. As I've mentioned, what's going on with ice bath? There's no real need to do it unless you've got a fight coming up. And then, oh, here we go. And then Saturday, more stick. Dude, so this guy doesn't even box. He just fights people on Tuesday and Friday, and then doesn't actually do any fucking boxing training. He lifts once, does a shit job at that, then does cardio Monday morning, cardio Thursday afternoon and Thursday morning, so full depth cardio Thursday, I don't understand how he made the schedule. Now it's circuit training, so it's just more mindless conditioning. Like, it doesn't even matter what's in the circuit. I just know it's just going to be mindless shit put together, because that's what circuit training is in a lot of places. Now, you can do circuit training well, and to do circuit training well, you have to decide on what is the adaptation you're trying to induce before actually creating the circuit. Like, a lot of the shit is just work for work. There's no point in doing this. It's just fatiguing you, making you feel like you've done something, you sweated, cool, high five. But you're a professional athlete, or for you listening, you're maybe a competitive athlete. Doing work to work is not your goal. That's not your job. You're working towards competing and doing well in your combat sport, not just doing work. So with circuit training, it can be done well. You can do, for example, if you're looking to develop, say, just general aerobic capacity, low-level aerobic conditioning, contralateral dumbbell circuits is one. If you just look contralateral dumbbell circuit on Google, you'll find Cal Dietz's document. It's literally a whole circuit. You can do it with a dumbbell, super low intensity. You do it mostly nose breathing. It's basically you're doing something with your right arm with a dumbbell, and then you're doing a left leg exercise, and then you're doing the other side, left arm dumbbell, right leg exercise, and you're combining things together. 2, you can do mobility circuits, nose breathing. So if you pair supersetting mobility movements back and forth 5 times and do multiple of those, you can get your heart rate going pretty well. Plus you're getting some extra movement in. A good way of doing that is you're pairing a standing or seated exercise with a lying down exercise. So you're having to get on and off the floor each exercise. That's another way you can do a circuit. Medicine ball circuits are another great one, especially for boxers. If you're not doing medicine ball circuits, you're doing yourself a disservice. You can do them extensive or submaximal, so it could be throwing against the wall really easy and light. It's just about getting a rhythm and about having a smooth flow with your throws. You can also do power circuits with medicine balls, so maximal throws, going through circuits to develop work capacity with high intensity power exercises. And then you can do harder circuits as well, kind of like this, but depends. You could do them technically, circuits, some kind of shadow boxing for work, etc. If you're developing, say, higher intensity aerobic work, it could be 30 seconds, etc. of more technical stuff. And you can choose exercises that are going to help develop you technically. So in this example, KSI has done 1 pad session this entire week, and that's all he's done, and then sparred twice. So instead of just doing random exercises with the circuit, why couldn't he do, if he was so hell-bent on doing more conditioning, you could have your coaches give and help instruct you through technical stuff within your circuit, whether it's some kind of shadow boxing, bag work, power work, whatever, but you're still at least developing something, and then at least the circuit doesn't go to waste. So just bear that in mind around circuit training. There's a lot you can do. If you're looking for work capacity, another one, a good one is if you search Gambetta leg circuit. So if you're in Gambetta's leg circuit, that thing's damn brutal, and that's a really good way to develop work capacity in the legs too. That's also in the start of the 365 programs in the Sweet Science of Fighting Underground, so check that out. But that was his entire week. I will say that it is a pretty dog shit training week, to be honest. It has 1 real technical boxing training session, if you want to call it that. It has 5 conditioning sessions and 1 lifting session and 2 sparring sessions, and a lot of other stuff randomly in between. So don't do it like that. Plan your days around your sparring, your gym work. You're typically looking at 1 to 2 times a week, depending on where you are in your training cycle. Obviously those days are highly individualized and dependent on what you're doing, so I can't give exactly what to do in those, but typically you want to touch on a thread of everything. A good rule of thumb is to go from fast to slow. So you're going from your faster movements, which are jumps, throws, etc., into your heavier stuff that might be loaded jumps, Olympic lift variations, etc., and then into your heavy exercises that could be, for example, what KSI was doing, squats, rows, bench, all that kind of stuff. And then with your conditioning, his is pretty linear in terms of the stimulus he's getting. It's pretty much, a lot of it is the same. It's just a lot of work for doing work. So have some variation within there, within your conditioning as well. So you could be doing some longer high intensity intervals that are more sub-maximal for more towards your aerobic development. You could be doing your high intensity intervals later in the week if you need it. Maybe you're doing sprint intervals after your sparring if you need it, or on a separate day, or even just directly after your gym sessions. You can do some hard alactic intervals with maximal rest. And a lot of the stuff doesn't have that rest. It's all kind of fatigue based conditioning versus a performance based model where you're looking to rest longer to maintain high output. So just bear that in mind as well, but I'll see you next time in the next breakdown.